are seated over here at this table so we can try to get this on the road. You know, we're running a little bit behind schedule. We want to try to make up some of that time. So if our 4 panelists would come over here, have a seat. Yeah. Go ahead and get it going. A chance to respond, maybe take, 3 to 5 minutes or so, since we're running. We want to try to get back on time. Give everyone a chance to answer the questions, and there are going to be some individual questions that I throw out there where, we'll try to ask you some things that you may have some insight for our members and guests today to talk about. What were the challenges that you faced while you were president? And so what we'll do is start, ladies first. Tell us about some of the challenges that you faced while you were president. Yeah, they're live.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Fatima. Like I said, when I got up and just mentioned a few of the highlights, we were very fortunate that we had a full board that year. But the next year, we weren't as fortunate. And even though you may not be president, that next year you still play a vital role in the chapter. And so you definitely help that next president try and get a full board as well. And I think one of the reasons that we didn't have a full board is just something that not we just experienced that year, but that all presidents and all probably professional organizations in this particular area, a challenge that they face, is that there's a very transient community in Washington, D.C. So we're fortunate, it's a double-edged sword. We're fortunate because we have a large pool of professionals from which to pull from, but then we're also unfortunate because we have such a large pool and people who are really doing a lot, they don't stay here. They come here to achieve a certain goal and then they leave. So it's how do you make sure that you maintain, that level of service, and that transfer of knowledge, when you know that you're working with a very transient community, and because they're here in this area and they're doing well, you know they're going to leave. It's just when are they going to leave? And so I think that's a challenge.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's go over to our far left. Bruce, could you tell us some of the challenges you faced while you were president?
Well, I agree with her. Obviously, the DC area has such incredible people, black engineers that are highly successful, and would really be excellent role models. So, we have a lot of people to pull from. So I think one of the, kind of piggybacking on what she said, trying to get things like awards programs or recognition programs in place to get people to be more encouraged to become involved. And we all have in common that we want to increase the number of black engineers, through getting to the schools and different things like that. But as individuals in a professional organization, we got to give back to our members as well. So, some of the challenges really, of course, are trying to, do that through professional development and the leadership opportunity as it is. I mentioned we had put in a zone structure in part to give the officers a better leadership experience, one that's kind of more models what they might see in leadership in corporate America. Then to get people to come out and to do tutoring and different things like that, grassroots programs like that. I think we all have that in our heart. It's something that we want to do. But a lot of times, people want to be recognized for what they do. So, you have the member of the month and member of the year, different things like that, just to get people involved. Encourage them to be more involved. So that's what I'd say.
Okay. How about you?
Okay. Good morning. I'm going to take a little different tack since I'm old school. One of the biggest things I can remember is technology. We didn't have any. 1989, 99. What we did is instead of the fabulous email and website you got now, it's called Staples newsletters. It's mailing out. I don't know how many nights myself, Bruce, Mark, Harold spent putting together newsletters, old-fashioned method. You had a computer maybe to type it up, but you had to print it out and mail it. And so if you wanted to reach people to come to stuff, you had to call people, call trees, call. So it was tough just keeping in contact with all the members. We had a lot of people who were interested, but just the challenges of communicating. Of course, when everything, now it's like no-brainer. You got social media, you got Facebook, and you have all kinds of ways to reach people. And it still could be a challenge, but imagine before that. So one of the things that we did to keep the sort of connection of people, we try to always do social events, and I'm glad to see that continues now. It might seem like a happy hour, but it's actually the best way to get everybody in the room off, rather than just meetings, see people, so that if I contacted you and wanted you to do something for NSBE, it's a lot better if you've actually met me, shook my hand, had a drink or something, than just a blind person off of an email or something else. It was like, you had to keep the camaraderie going for business purposes too, in order to get everybody to know everybody. So it was a smaller chapter, but it's still the same thing. You had to keep all 20, 30, 40, 50 people in touch. Now you're up to 200, so it's a bigger challenge, but you have more technology. So.
Well, Arthur didn't too much have those challenges because he was around during the information age. So what were some of the challenges that you faced while you were president, Arthur?
There actually was some challenge with technology. I think on the finance side, we hadn't employed, latest things like the Square and the PayPal dongles, and so that allowed us to show up at events and say, you can become a member right now. There's no excuse. We're going to swipe your credit card, take your money. You can buy these gala tickets, as I'm sure all of you were accosted at some point before today. But the other challenge, I think, I faced on the board was with volunteers or leaders resigning. And over all of this period of time, the chapter has continued to grow, and a lot of the programs have maintained as staple programs, and now there's just so much more work to do, and you have to kind of grow the board or grow committees. And if you're coming in as new, you have to get indoctrinated into this culture, and not everybody's ready for that. And so kind of really attacking this human capital management for carrying out the mission.
Well, my next question concerns what's next, and where do you see the organization going or being in the next 25 years? Again, ladies first.
I could just give my opinion, but I hate to put that out there because, it shouldn't even just be capped by the imagination of those who are in the room. So hopefully we're always bringing in new talent, bringing in new people, bringing in fresh new ideas. But I think, especially for this area and for the time we're in, I think we have to make sure that we are serving, our constituents and what do they really need. And I like the program that Arthur Board started, the mentorship program, because I think that's key. And one thing that I did notice through my time at NSBE was there was a lot of mentoring going on, even without a formal mentorship program. Like, even through BAE, they became a sponsor, but then we had members actually then go and start working for BAE. And that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be like this ecosystem where everyone's getting fed. And for that to happen, I think we have to see how, yes, we're connecting in events, we're socializing. I think we have that down, and that's good, because that's the foundation. So you have to have that. People have to want to come out. So now that we have people who want to come out, now let's make sure that make sure that other nurturing piece is happening. And especially with all the talent we have, there is no reason why, if you are a Black technical professional in the Washington, D.C. area, that that if you need to find a job, that you need to make a connection, you need to be a member of NSBE DC. And once you become a member of NSBE DC, anything that you want to have happen for yourselves professionally is going to happen. And it won't just happen. We have to really put some structure behind that. But it happens informally right now. But I think we can really make that happen in a formal, systematic way, and just really be that force, not only in the DC area, but then just in our entire region.
Okay. How about you, Bruce?
I think one area that I see for the future, and really I'm very happy to see our chapter is really going down this path, and that's entrepreneurship. As an entrepreneur myself, it's near and dear to my heart. But I understand the chapter. We started a few years back, the entrepreneurs conference, and then we have the executive mentorship program. I understand, and these are great things because we should be encouraging our engineers, the ones that have that spirit within them, to get into technology entrepreneurship. Especially this the institutional racism that we have all faced to some degree, at varying degrees. Where we are in control of our own destiny as entrepreneurs and business owners. We don't have the biases as far as hiring our own folks that we know, the brilliant engineers that we have within us and within the DC area. So I see that as an area that we can continue to build on, and I'm very happy to see the recent presidents, really see that as an important area as well.
Thank you. You?
Okay, I think, like we said, who knows what we'll be doing in 25 years. Like I said, when I started, we didn't have good email and websites, so the technology, I'm assuming, is going to expand. And one of the things I hope will happen is the brand recognition, name recognition. Right now, it's already great. It's way better than we ever had. But one day, I'd like to be able to say, I'm going to an NSBE event, and nobody says, what's that? So we want to get it so it's just on the tips of everybody's mouth. The other thing I thought about was just increasing, and we've already done some of this, but increasing the professional things like Fatima mentioned, things to benefit the members from all ages, whether you're 21 or 51. Some of us are like that, but there's no reason this chapter shouldn't host maybe workshops, study classes to get your PMP or your CNA or whatever certificates that are professional. That seems to be the buzz now in the professional world, is certifications, even after your grad degrees. So professional certifications or any other thing that would help us in our careers. We're doing some of that. I'd like to see a big increase, and I can imagine in 20 years, who knows? I mean, sky's the limit as what we could do for each other, and just to help black professionals get ahead in this tough market. And so I'm seeing that as a future. I don't have all the ideas, but I know you young folks can move us forward.
Okay, Arthur?
I think about two things, and it builds on the comments that have been shared already. One of them is perhaps a little closer in reach, and it's really attacking the challenges that all of our customers face from more of a systems perspective. We're getting involved, of course, in policy in the area, which makes sense, and efforts in partnering with the public policy special interest group. But we haven't really mapped out strategically what are all the political action committees, what are the education councils that have open seats, and really looking at how can you place NSBE members in those positions so that you are enacting the policy or the curriculum from the perspective of what we know needs to change. And that can be, I think, more effective than just some of the outreach efforts that we do. And then to Fatima's point about customers, just thinking further out in terms of who our customers might be. We know the current technical professionals, collegiate students, pre-college students, but we haven't so much looked in the area of workforce development, and there's lots of money out there for perhaps veterans or non-traditional technical professionals who go through a community college and then come into the same industries.
Okay, thank you. Well, my last overarching question really can't be asked until I repeat what the NSBE mission is. To increase the number of culturally responsible black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. So, therefore, my last question is our role in achieving the mission through mentoring, excelling academically or professional development, through community impact, and for STEM related or otherwise. What can you tell me as a panelist or a person who's in the STEM field? How can we increase the number of folks that we are trying to within our organization? Ladies first again. You know you were gonna get it. You know you're gonna get it. So
That's like, switch it up.
yeah, I know.
Hey.
So, when you're talking about membership Or you're just talking about anyone along that pipeline?
Anyone along that pipeline.
Well, I think for the youth, I think the problem is we're just not making the connection. Like it just gets my goat when people say, oh, kids just aren't interested in STEM. That's just not true. I mean, they're not, it's not true. What we haven't done for them is make the connection. All the things they're interested in, they have because of STEM.
Absolutely.
They just don't understand that that's why. So there's a disconnect. They go to class, they learn math, but they don't understand why that math, relates to, whatever game they're playing with on their phone. That's the problem. And that's our job, to make that connection. And so that's what we have to do.
Okay, thanks. I'll go ahead with the entrepreneur.
Okay. Well, I totally agree with that. And speaking about entrepreneurship, we as Black technology business owners that are doing some exciting things. I think that's where it becomes really important to get to the schools and show the young people that, hey, you can do your own thing and be successful that way, and even in the technologies that are exciting today. I know for myself personally, when I was a kid, probably around when I was 11, 12 years old, there was a gentleman, his name was Mr. Barrett. He owned this, Black guy that owned his own business. He made high-end stereo equipment and awesome stuff. It just the sound quality, at the time that I thought was amazing. And he was a family friend, so he would come over, and every time he came over, he would be interested in telling me about his designs and different things like that with the amplifier circuits that he was building. And I was really into electronics as a hobby at the time, doing the Heath kits and Radio Shack experiments. And so he would always come over and ask, what I was doing and kind of give me advice on different things and tell me some of the things he was doing. Even though, to be honest with you, I did not understand a lot of what he said. But it was very exciting to me to see that this brilliant brother is, doing, creating his own designs and had his own path of, wanting to make the best stereo equipment in the world. And as a kid, that's what I saw. And in a way, he was my hero in that sense. So he was really the one that really gave me that excitement. Not only to be an engineer, to continue what I was doing, but to own my own business. And I think that the more we have Black technology businesses and we go to these schools and show these kids, hey, these are the kinds of things you can do, and you can control your own destiny, and not just have them be able to look at the hip hop artists that are making all that money and different things like that. Just show engineering as another option, and with entrepreneurship even adds more options to that.
Thank you.
Hey, I guess when I have to piggyback again, these two are excellent comments so far, but I think we need to continue our chapter's legacy of excellent PCI programs, pre-college initiative, or whatever you want to call it, working with young people. We did it from the very beginning. You may see a picture, we were at the National Council of Negro Women and Family Reunion on the mall talking to little kids, thanks to Harold and Mark. And that joy of helping young people get into science and technology has to continue forever. And that kind of builds up, so like Bruce was saying, the excitement. You want the little Bruces to be just as excited as he was about technology. And sometimes it's hard to make some of this science, math, all the deep stuff cool. So we always have to try to think of ways to make it that way. I know obviously Mark's one of his mantras was making engineering seem more fun. And we tried, that's why we did the plays way back. We had plays that were about technology and Blacks in history, and we try to have fun, make it enjoyable for the young kids. So you want to somehow make engineering cool. Now, I'm not the expert how to do it, but I think we have to. We're going to keep it up. One thing I remember most, I spoke at a high school sometime back in the 90s. I went in and I said, blah, 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 I'm an engineer, I work for this, that, and the other. And I said, any questions? First kid said, yes, sir. He said, how much money you make? I was like, oh. So it is relevant. Money, economics is relevant. We got to make sure they know that engineering, science, STEM is economically viable, will continue to be so forever. With all the struggles out here with jobs and opportunities, STEM is the way to go. So we have to keep that message out there and encourage more.
Don't feel bad, you had the exact same thing happen to me.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll give Arthur a chance to answer this question, then we're going to try to answer it. At least give the audience a chance to ask some questions themselves before we close out.
Sure. The only thing that I will briefly add is that PCI is definitely key, and it's going to take leadership, which is communicating to people their worth and potential so clearly that they start to see it in themselves. And you just can't mentor at all levels of the pipeline, but you have to recreate yourself. You have to, if you become an executive, your job is not done until you've helped someone else become an objective who understands that their responsibility is to help someone else become an executive. And it's the same thing if you are becoming an entrepreneur or leading and developing a PCI program.
Thank you. Let me go ahead and give the audience a chance. How about 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
5 minutes, we'll take some questions from the audience. Anyone want to be the first? We have a young man in the audience. Would you like to ask a question of these panelists?
My name is Maurice Hall, and I work at Engineering. And I just wanted to ask you, what do you think is the most important thing to tell someone who wants to be an engineer to do in order to
I'll leave it up to you all to whoever wants to. We're not going to put this on.
Repeat the question.
Can you repeat it?
I can repeat it, or I'll summarize it. Maurice was asking for advice for someone who wants to be an engineer and really tips to be successful in pursuing that. And all I can say is continue to think about what you're passionate about and what drives you. And if you can always connect that to using engineering to help people or to make the world a better place, then that will carry you through a lot of the challenges you're going to face, either in doing classes or when you get into your profession.
I would add, in addition to the obvious of making sure you do well in school, and especially in math and science, and you know, particularly math, you make sure that you're not intimidated to, you know, at any math level, because you can probably, you know, you can get A's in pretty much all of them. But I would suggest also to seek out other engineers that are, you know, the type of, you know, maybe check out all the different type of engineering professions. If you know somebody who's actually a professional engineer, if you could, you know, whether through career days at school or on your own, be able to go to their place of work just to see what an engineer does. And I think this also goes back to, you know, Black business owners in particular, you know, would probably be a lot more open to letting you come to their facility to see what, you know, see what it is that they do as engineers in the technology business. And I think that can get you a lot more excitement, you know, and a lot more direction on which area of engineering you might be interested in. So that's what I would say.
I'm going to add on what has already been said. You definitely have to do well in math and science, but when I say that, even if you're not doing well, that's okay too. That just means you need to work a little harder, because it's just about practice. And the reason why is because, yes, a lot of these things you could just pick up a calculator or pick up a program and, you know, or build your own program and, you know, and have whatever calculation that you want done. But it's the mindset, and this goes back to what Arthur was saying, because it's a way of thinking when you're an engineer, because it doesn't really matter what you do. If you ask a lot of the engineers in this room, no one's really doing hardcore engineering anymore. You know, maybe just a few of us. But you know, a lot of us are in management positions or doing all sorts of things. Like my sister did chemical engineering, and now she's getting her MFA at Juilliard. You know, but so it's like what Arthur said, you're going to gain skills that are going to help you throughout your life. You're going to know how to create, you're going to know how to solve problems, and then anywhere you go, that will serve you. So work hard in math and science, and if it's not coming easy, that is okay, just work harder.
Okay.
I guess I don't know if I can add anything other than just follow exactly what they said. No. But also just one of the things that made me sort of go into engineering just as a young kid and in high school and stuff, go seek out technological things like, if you're in this area, the National Air and Space Museum, any kind of thing that involves technology. We used to go to the National Airport, watch the planes come and fly in and watch the technical marvel, and later on I ended up working for Boeing. Like, you can dream anything you're interested in that you find fascinating. If you like video games, there's a whole industry of people that make video games. So like, find technology you might be interested in, and then you can research and have older engineers, as Bruce mentioned, tell you which field would relate to that and how you can get into that field. But always connect to the real world why you want to be an engineer. Because it's not for everybody, but it is. If you already know you're interested, find out some of the things you're interested in, find out how real world things relate to it, and it'll just help you keep focused while you're getting good grades, not only in math and science, but English, everything else. Because I think the biggest challenge I have now, being in sort of program management, is people's writing skills. You have people that are excellent at technical and cannot write a sentence. So we can't have that. What you got to put ahead, what's going to get you ahead and make you a great engineer if you want to be, is to be able to communicate verbally and technically. So just keep the focus, do everything you can in school, and try to think of what type of technology you'd be interested in. And I think that's what our chapter is here to help people like yourself. So.
One more question, and then we have to close it off. I saw you.
There's some over on this side of the room.
Is anyone over this side? Okay, sure. Yeah, did you raise your hand?
So I just wanted to know, so what are your thoughts on the chapter specifically supporting some of the national initiatives that are going on as far as there's been a focus specifically on coding and things of that nature. We have organizations like Black Girls Code that have been popping up. What are your thoughts on the chapter partnering with organizations like that, or do you think the chapter should continue to do kind of its own homegrown programming to push the NSBE mission statement forward?
I think with any organization, you never want to recreate the wheel. So if you have an opportunity to partner, I think you always should. But I think it goes back to something else that Arthur mentioned earlier too. You don't want to grow and spread yourself too thin. So I think it all depends on also, the resources that you have available at the time. And to make those decisions, that are best going to serve your community at that time. But I think it's always great to partner, because we just can never do anything by ourselves, and the reach, that you can get when you collaborate is just far more impactful.
I'll let Nolan ask our last question, because I've already got the time. I'm almost done. I'll read that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have one more thing to Maurice. So the only thing that I'll add to what they said is seek a mentor. If you don't already have one, get a mentor. And you have a room full to start with today if you don't already have one. So definitely get somebody that's working in not just the engineering field that you're doing, but somebody that's gone through an engineering program of any kind to help you, because at the core of it all is math and science and understanding, also your course load and things of that nature as you're going through, that process. But I digress, and back to the panel. With each of you being, as I mentioned earlier, servant leaders, sometimes I've found it difficult when transitioning from a leadership role to that next thing. There's that lull, if you will, or sometimes that remorse of leaving the organization behind, or stepping into a different type of phase of your life. And I know each of you probably had different reasons for when you stepped down, or how you transitioned away from your, sort of time of service to the chapter. And I'd just be interested to hear, how did you handle that, and how did that transition into your contribution to the chapter today?
Go ahead. Bruce. Yeah.
I think as you get older, and now I can't believe I'm the age I'm at. But as you mentioned, you get different phases of your life. And my time with NSBE was just tremendous as far as learning different aspects of leadership and putting it in practice, and learning from other great leaders. Because as you know, NSBE, especially on the college level, is such a great training ground for leadership. And you get thrust into this great opportunity of leadership there. And so as I took on leadership in this chapter, after being president a couple of terms here, I moved to Dallas. I stayed involved with NSBE. It was the chapter president there a couple of terms. But then obviously, you feel like you might outgrow age-wise as far as, direct leadership, because you want to give some of the younger folks a chance to step up and have their time as leaders. So I ended up transitioning to getting more involved with the Urban League and other organizations like that. Then of course I had my lovely daughter over there, so that also took a lot of other time. So, but there's many different ways to give back, even back to this organization. Whether it's coming back to speak, or even going to schools still and meeting with young people like this young man over here, and to really show a different phase of your career as it has grown, and talk about your path as an engineer. So just to try to get people still excited about becoming an engineer.
I'm just going to let one more panelist answer that question so we can close it out and get to the next event we have this afternoon. Hugh, would you like to?
Okay, I would just slightly add maybe that once you're a leader and you've served an elected office, because you're out of that office doesn't mean you're out of the chapter or out of the organization. So some of us that have remained living in the area, we've stayed active. Some of us were on the E-board years and years. There's people that haven't been president but have probably done more than anyone else. Someone like Yvette here has done so much for the chapter year after year, different roles, and depending on how our time allows. And so what I try to do, a lot of the years after I was president, I stayed on the board, or then at certain years we had a chapter advisory board, which I think is a good concept. I don't know if they've reinstituted that yet or anything like that, but that might be an idea. Okay, that's a great way to get some of the old heads, if you will. They don't have to be presidents, just people that have some knowledge to give back, and they would meet maybe whatever quarterly or every other month or something with the board, and you describe your problems, they would tell you, well, here's some ideas how to handle it. And you don't want to put too much pressure. A lot of people that do get a little burned out, so they don't want to be on the board again, but they can be an advisor. Or you can just reach out to people individually. You can let the chapter know that you're available if they have an issue, which has been good. So the presidents often have reached out to us for advice. And I think somebody mentioned about the banquet being, about that banquet, the pressure with Michael Eric Dyson and needing people to attend. I was one of those people that got the phone call, hey, you need to show up. We need people at this banquet. It worked. We all showed up, like you said, 203 attendees. We need that kind of thing. So with technology today, there's no excuse for being disconnected, even if you live around the world. Make sure you leave your contact information. You can be reached, even if it's just an email response. You may give good advice. So never feel disconnected, I guess is one of my advice would be.
Well, let's thank the panel for being here today. We're going to go ahead and give Yika a chance to close this out for us today.
All right. Can we give our panelists one more? We're going to just pass out some certificates, just a small token of our appreciation for taking your time to share with us this morning and share your expertise. Thank you. All right, and after that's passed out for the panelists, we also have a certificate for Mr. Bozeman, if you want to come up, for Variant Technologies. Thank you so much. You want to get it later? Okay. All right. So I just want to say thank you once again to everybody here. Hugh and Bruce, we will definitely take you up on that. We definitely are looking forward to this next year as we start off our next 25 years, and definitely want to lean on the expertise and the background and experience of all the people in this room and ensure that we're utilizing you all appropriately. So as mentioned, we will be starting an advisory board next year and are looking for individuals to help inform the chapter and move us forward. This event was just amazing. I hope everybody took something from it. I definitely did, and definitely feel we have such a rich history and so much to be appreciative and grateful for as we continue with our 25th anniversary weekend. Yvette's going to talk us a bit through our next event, which is the membership showcase. But I do want to encourage everybody to come to our gala tonight. We still do have tickets available. And as you all know, our focus with the gala has really been about raising funds for our scholarship fund. So if you have individuals who are perhaps interested in coming to the gala and yet have not bought tickets, we still have tickets available till later this afternoon. And then of course tomorrow, we have our Future Innovator Scholarship reception. So we get a chance to really, talk and network with our 14 talented Black high school students that we are giving scholarships to as they pursue degrees with STEM, specifically engineering and applied sciences. So that's going to take place 2 to 4 p.m., same place here tomorrow. So I hope that you'll join us for the rest of our 25th anniversary activities over the next couple of days. I just want to say thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for spending your time with us.
Panelists, the people who participated in the program, Oscar, Desi, Yinka, as well as the planning committee that helped put this on, Kenya Goodson and also Barbara Nichols, and who's also planning the other one. And so one of the things that we are encouraging everybody to do is we're going to have a membership showcase next door, and it's going to start in about 5 minutes. And what this is technologists are going to give what we call mini TED Talks, TED-like talks, on different different areas of technology. So it's going to be a really interesting talk. Some of the people in this room are slated to give talks, and this is just getting us back to our some of our technical roots, and so you're going to be hearing from some great people. So I encourage everybody to go next door, and it's free. So, and thank you all for coming.
And so Yvette has been active in the chapter for many, many years and really has taken this event and made it to what we see today. So I just really want to thank her, and she mentioned her committee of Barbara and Kenya and Brian and others that have all worked to make this event happen. So a big thank you to Yvette.
Thank you.